This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Let's Talk Teens with Abbi and Cheree, episode 13, How to Connect with Your Teen.
All right. I love this topic because I think sometimes, we automatically think that if we have teenagers and the teenage years, they're not going to connect with their parents and they're just going to hate us. And I just don't think it has to be that way. I really don't. I think that we can learn to connect with them. And I think sometimes we just don't know how. So, Abbi and I are hoping tonight that today, whenever you're listening to this podcast, that in the car, wherever you are, that something we say will really help you know how to connect with your teen on their level and have it be about them. So the very first thing I just want to bring up is I think we have to quiet the noise that maybe the words we hear them saying, or maybe their body language, we make it mean something about us. And this is where we have to quiet our own brain drama, right? Our teens have it, we have it. That they hate us, that, they're disgusted with us, that they just said all these mean things to us about how dumb we are, how we don't understand. And I think we have to really practice quieting the noise of that and realizing that what they're saying, a lot of times their words has nothing to do with us, and it has everything to do with what's going on in their life and how they're feeling and their insecurities. And even sometimes the noise, what they say to us is really how they're feeling about themselves. Like when they say, you just don't understand, really what's going on is they don't understand themselves and they're frustrated that they don't understand themselves because of all the changes that are going on in their body, their hormones and their chemicals, and they feel foreign to themselves. And so, but it's so much easier for them to project it on you. So I think number one as a parent is I'm going to quiet the noise. I'm going to not make it about me. I'm going to look at everything they throw at me, everything they say, their body language, and I'm going to remember this is just the years of them figuring out them, and they just need me to hold space for them. And we'll get into that. But before we do, what are your thoughts on that quieting the noise, Abbi?
My cute pediatrician for my kids, I took in my 3-year-old for his birthday checkup, and he was kind of just being a 3-year-old, right? And we call it, like, right, the terrible threes, or and he
We
said
call it the three nagers.
the three age, I like it.
Yeah. And keep
um
going.
and he said, I like to think of 3-year-olds as walking middle fingers. And it just really, I was like, oh, okay. But guess what? I've thought about that so often, because when my 3-inger has been quite sassy or mean or just screamed at me, I go, oh, he's just being a walking middle finger right now. And it, like, I don't know, it helps me quiet the noise of, oh no, I'm such a bad mom. He's heard me yell and now he yells, right? Like, I throw that away and go, oh my gosh, she's just a moody 3-year-old. And it's okay. Like, I can still love and hug a walking middle finger. And sometimes I adapt that attitude with teens and with students that are so hard, or coaching clients that you're like, oh my gosh, you just said something so rude. I don't know if you've ever had that happen, Cheree. I have, where literally
Yes.
I've been like, ouch, like they didn't even know how rude that was, but that was so rude what they just said to me. And I go, you know what?
Exactly.
I can still love somebody that's so prickly. And me just
Mhm.
labeling it of, okay, this is my prickly teen. It helps me quiet the noise. It helps me go, oh yeah, this is what I signed up for. And I still love them.
So let's talk about how we hold space for our teenagers. I think it's such an important thing to learn to do. And I think holding space, the way I describe it, is just allowing whatever they're feeling to be there. I know personally when I'm having a bad day or I'm feeling grumpy, I don't need someone to be like, oh, you are so grumpy, or I don't need someone to tell me how I'm doing it wrong or try to fix it. I don't even need someone to fix my sad or mad or frustrated mood. I just want someone to be like, okay, to allow me to be in that space. And I think that's what we as parents of teens need to do the most for teenagers is hold space for them. Allow whatever emotion they're feeling, allow whatever like they're experiencing, allow it to be there. Now, granted, there are times where, our behaviors we absolutely need to stop, or language thrown at us that we absolutely need to have a boundary for. I'm not saying don't have boundaries or rules. I'm saying that when our teen is just having a bad day, it's just holding space and being like, oh, I can tell you're having a rough day, and not needing to be like, don't be mad at me, or don't say those horrible things to me, or I'm just doing. I think as a mom, this is what I would do so much. Is like, don't you see all the things I'm doing? I'm just trying to help you,
Yes.
And instead it's like, oh, like, I'm sorry. Like, I can tell you're having some really hard things going on, or I can see why, you are feeling frustrated right now. Instead of making it about us, we hold space to just let it be about them and whatever emotions they're feeling.
Yeah, you made me think of an experience I had. I was a true blue teenager. I'm probably 17. My grandparents are going to go on a mission. And so all of us grandkids are going to sing at their mission farewell on Sacrament on Sunday. And I'm playing the piano, and all my cousins are going to sing, and we're practicing. And the truth was that I wasn't getting the rhythm of the piano piece right. And so their rhythm was then a little bit off. And I remember, I know what's happening, right? But I'm a teenager and I'm just embarrassed and I'm a little bit like frustrated too, because it just comes with the territory. And I remember being like, oh, you guys, you got to figure out your crap because you are off on this one part. You guys are coming in way too soon. And I really know deep down inside us because I'm not playing, I'm missing a note myself. And I remember my uncle, I mean, I've totally just been sassy to the whole family. And I remember my uncle, because everybody was like, oh, okay, and like kind of not listening. My uncle was like, hey, everybody, Abby is our pianist here, and we need to follow her. So you guys listen up, and he kind of did it in a funny way. I felt so seen, so validated, and it
Mhm.
totally calmed down that part of me that was kind of being a brat and throwing a fit. To just have my uncle put his little arms around my shoulder and go, guys, come on, Abby's doing this. We can like do it too, I
Mhm.
just, I was totally being a brat, and he loved me through that and didn't have to point out that I was being a brat. And I don't know, it just really like made me go, okay, I don't have to be a brat. Like I'm still loved, and I don't have to be a
Yes.
brat about this.
Well, I think it connected you to him. And then, therefore, because he was so good at allowing and holding space for you, it allowed you to also connect to yourself and be okay with you and get in a better headspace, right?
Mhm.
I think that is so good. And that's what this connection is all about. Okay, another thought I have of just connecting with our teens is really think about them. Like, what are their hobbies? What are their interests? Maybe it's not something you would choose to do to fill your bucket, but because you want to get down on their level and make it about them and like what's important to them, you try something that maybe you would be bad at. Maybe they're really good at it, and you're willing to go and be bad at it just to go spend time with them, or ask them about it and have them teach you something, and do something that is important to them. So I just think about when our youngest was in high school, he wrestled. Now, my husband and I, neither of us knew much about wrestling. We never had any of our other kids wrestle. But the more we learned about wrestling, the more we went to his meets and everything, like all the tournaments, everything, the more we engaged in what he was doing, the more it connected us to him, because what he did mattered to us, and he knew that. Like, we were at everything, and we asked him about everything. And I know a lot of you parents are so great at that, but I think it's so important to find what our kids are interested in it and ask them about it, learn about it, research it, be a part of it, support them, make, the things that matter to them, make them matter to you too. And I just think that's so, like, I cannot like overstate that enough, of like, cannot just emphasize that enough is probably a better word, is I cannot emphasize that enough, how important it is to show up for your kid in the things that matter to them.
I have two quick thoughts on that. The first is I feel like I was blessed with parents that were phenomenal at that. I could go to them, and this was a really often experience. I'd go to them and be like, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm going to run for SBO officer." And they would go, "Sweet. Kate, what do you need? Do you need posters? Is there a meeting?" Like they were all in moment one. And then the next day I'd be like, "Oh, just kidding. I kind of changed my mind. That sounds hard, but I'm going to try out for the dance team." And they'd be like, Okay, cool. Like they would pivot with me because I feel like a teen is figuring out what they wanted to do, but they were all in. And then you got me thinking about there's all this crazy, amazing research about what's called my time. And that's where you spend 10 minutes a day with little kids, right? Where you're spending one-on-one time with them. They get to pick what you play. You're not quizzing them on the color or what letter is this, right? It's truly you are just playing and you don't make suggestions, you just compliment. And you're supposed to do that 10 minutes a day with each kid. And like the mental health benefits of that, the bonding experience of that is like off the charts. That doesn't go away just because they're now 13, 14, 15, 19, right? They still need your time and attention. Now, are teenagers busier than any human being in the whole world? Like, absolutely, right? So it's tricky to find that time to connect. But I love that you said, I went to my son's games. Like, I met him where he was, or maybe driving in the car. Like, we don't want to walk away from time with our teen just because maybe they've become a prickly pear. Maybe they're telling you they don't want time with you, or they are so busy. Still making that a priority as a parent is huge in that bonding.
It really is. And I remember as you were talking about that with your parents pivoting with you, I love that. I remember a time when our younger two really loved video games, and I hate video games, right? But I recognize there's a real draw to them. But I remember one night I went down and played video games with them. I was so bad. And did I love video
Yeah, I
games?
can see you. I can see you.
Like so bad. And do I love video games? Is there like a thousand other ways I'd want to spend my time? Probably. But you know what I wanted to do is I wanted to spend time with them and I wanted to be where they were at. And that's where, the pivoting of like, okay, right now, this is where I need to be with them. This is me spending time with them. And it might change. They might have a different interest next week. They might have a different interest tomorrow. I'm just going to show up where they're at. And I think that's good. Last, I just want to remind all you parents, sometimes connecting with your teens takes time. I don't know about all of you. I'm kind of like my husband and kids could totally attest to this. Like, I want it fixed now. I want to have this connection, this perfect connection right now, today. And sometimes I forget that things take time and there really is no rush. It's that constant me showing up over and over again, letting them know I care about them, loving them, and letting it take time. And knowing that, you know what, it might not, there might be days where it doesn't feel like you're connected at all to your teens, but just stay the course because if you continue to show up and love them in a big way, um, you will have that connection. They will know you love them. And one last thought I just had is one of my favorite things that I've ever done is when I take the time to send my teenagers, my young adult kids a text, just telling them why I love them. And, sometimes your teenager won't talk to you, but you better believe they're going to look at a text on their phone. And so sometimes the very most loving, best ways you can connect to them is through a simple text telling them how great they are, what part they play in your family, and why they are needed.
Yes, because I was thinking, and we hear it, Cheree, because I get messages on Instagram. You hear it from parents of teens that you coach of extreme cases where they're like, my teen has been so hurtful, so mean, so disrespectful, right? That it's hard because now there's some walls in that bonding. But I always think, don't let them go too far. Like, don't ever let them go too far without them knowing how much you love them because it is tempting, especially when your child has slashed and burned you, right? Like they have cut you to the core. It's tempting to be like, well, you're on your own now. Like, I don't care about connecting with you, or, just in our anger making decisions, but never let your teen get too far without them knowing, like, mom and dad love me, right? And that love might be that I have curfew at 10 p.m., but
Mhm.
that also could be a text or a little note on their pillow so that they have these constant reminders, even no matter how prickly pear they're gonna be, that my mom and dad have constantly tried to connect with me and love me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us. If you are enjoying this podcast, please give us a review or rate us. That helps us get to parents like you who have teenagers who could use a few tips. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager Here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.